Good afternoon, everyone. You know, when you invite uh, a European to speak, normally a European would start with a thank you. No, that's how they start their speech. But when you invite an American, normally the American will start with a joke. But when you invite an Asian, specifically, lalo pag Filipino, they'll start with an apology. So this afternoon, I thought I'll try all three. So yeah, I'll start with yung thanks. I'll start by thanking our course leader, si Vin, and our chapter head, is Noel around? Si Noel, thank you. Thank you for assigning me this talk and giving me this particular topic. Loving God and neighbor. Maraming salamat. I'm very thankful because when I look at the topic, it says loving God and neighbor. And I said to myself, this has got to be the easiest topic in CLP. I mean, who would want to debate that we need to love God and our neighbor, di ba? So it's gotta be the easiest. Ayun, yun yung joke. So, I'm done with two. Kasi when I went through the topic, and as I dug deeper into this whole loving God and neighbor thing, I realized it was actually so difficult. It's so challenging to discuss. Ang hirap pala niya. No? So, therefore, dahil mahirap siya, I must apologize to all of you today because I will not be providing a lot of answers. In fact, this afternoon, I'll be asking a lot of questions. I'll be throwing a lot of questions at you kasi I don't even have the answers myself. So, I'm really sorry. If you thought I'm going to provide answers, wala. I'll provide questions. Because as I dug deeper into this topic, ang daming questions na lumabas. For instance, if we're going to talk about loving God and neighbor, we'll start to talk about love. Ayan na. No? Love pa lang. When I ask the question, so what is love? Doon pa lang ang hirap na. No, Shakespeare himself did not have an answer to that question, right? He tried to. And you know what? Even the great philosopher, si Bruno Mars, he can't figure out whether love is a treasure, a grenade, or a Versace on the floor. No? All he knows is he'll die with a smile if you visit him in his apathy. Buti na lang wala yung ano ko si Zarina. Awahin na naman ako nun pag narinig niya. So, he can't figure it out. Malalaman mo talaga yung age group. Ano pag yung hindi na. Alright, okay. Okay. Well, suffice to say, the more I did my research, the more I realized love is a many-splendored thing. Ayan, may nakareact na. Okay. Diba, ang hirap eh. It's hard to really grasp what it is. So, instead of answering the question, what is love? I changed the question na lang. What does love require? Okay? Nasa module 2 na tayo ngayon eh. So, module 2 is all about action na ngayon. So, anong gagawin natin? Knowing that God is a Father, Jesus is God, and the Holy Spirit is here. So, what response is expected from us as an authentic Christian? Okay? So, loving. What does love require? And so, I did my own research. Siyempre naman, I didn't want to come here unprepared. So, I did my research. Wanted to find out what does love require? So, in order to be an expert on this topic, I watched this movie. Yan. So, because I watched this movie, you can now call me an expert on love. Yan. And I looked at this movie and I also looked at my own experience and I realized love requires a lot of things because it is a many-splendored thing. Marami nga. How can I capture it in a 20-minute talk? Yun lang daw ang deadline ko, sabi ni Vin. I look for three things that love requires. If we must love, and if we are really in love, there are three things that are required from us. I hope, nandito ba yung mga yung mga ikakasal? Those are engaged, yan. Yan, okay. I hope you listen to this and I hope you'll agree with me that these are the three things that love requires from us. Number one, love requires a decision. It is not a fuzzy, warm, fuzzy feeling alone. Kasi yung feeling na yan, it comes, but it also goes. So love must be a decision. When you say it's a decision, you follow through on it. Sometimes you don't even like your decision. Sometimes you don't even like what comes out of your decision. But because you made the decision, then you're going to move forward with it, adjust, do your best, and live with your decision. Okay ba yun? Would you agree that this is something that's required of us because of love? Yeah? So love requires a decision. In this movie, for instance, both of them actually made the decision to love. It's not, I fell in love. Sabi nila, I decided to fall in love. Yan, that's how powerful it was. I made my own decision to fall in love many years ago. In this movie, nauna yung lalaki to decide to fall in love. Yung babae, medyo she was hemming and hawing for some time. But at the end of the day, she made the decision to fall in love. Sino ba yung nakapanood na ng movie na to? The Notebook? Ayan, okay. Yung mga hindi pa rin tataas ng kamay, manonood na yan mamaya pag-uwi. Okay. Yeah, they both made the decision to love, and that decision was so beautiful. Because there were hardships along the way. And no matter what hardships came along the way, they were committed to each other. There was that decision. Ako, I made my decision in several points, several checkpoints. I decided to love my wife, my ex-girlfriend, si Zarem, in so many points. The first one came when I was still in school, tapos hindi ko pa nililigawan si Zarem noon. But while we were eating, one of my friends told me, Bong, bakit hindi mo pa nililigawan si Zarem? And I told him, bakit ka ba nakikialam? Because I didn't want to face the question. But then he followed it up with an even more difficult question. And he said, Bong, what if mawala si Zarem sa buhay mo? Yeah, and that was such a powerful question para sa akin. It left a deep, gaping hole in my heart na dun pala I really decided, naku, liligawan ko na to. Of course, I didn't tell them na yun ang naramdaman ko. But it started from that. And then, another decision, and another decision. Until the decision to get married, the decision to stay in love, and the decision to have kids. Love is a decision. Okay? It is not an emotion. Okay? Agree ba? Okay tayo? So if you don't agree, I can proceed to the next one. Alright. The next one, what does love require from us? Number 2, effort. Effort. Love requires effort. Hindi po pwedeng, in love na ako ngayon, that's it, pansit, tapos na tayo. Love requires effort. I mean, at some point, there's really work involved. You have to work on it. Love means working on the relationship. Nako, sorry, I sound like, parang Kiss FM ba to? O Love Radio. Yeah, but it really requires effort, no? And you cannot question that kasi yun yung nakita ko doon sa The Notebook. Right? And I'm a love expert now. Okay? It really requires effort. Kasi at some point, you say, parang hindi ko na love. At some point, parang ang hirap na nitong love na to. You gotta work at overcoming that. Kasi nga, it's not a one-time thing. But someone told me in the past, love your work. Okay ba yun? Love your work. And you'll never work a single day of your life. Sa trabaho yun. But we can also apply that to relationships, right? If you love what you're doing, it's never work. Okay? Minsan yung parang pagod na pagod ka ng gano'n, tapos sabihin ni Zarem, Bong, kuha mo ako ng tubig. Parang, ba? Di ba? Pagod na nga ako, gusto kong matulog, kukuha pa ng tubig. But when I realize, I stop and think, who am I doing this for? The love of my life is asking me for a glass of water? Yeah, sure. Diba? But it takes effort along the way. It takes effort. So love, if you want to love, and if we're being asked to love, then we need to put an effort into it. Okay ba yun? Can we accept that? Sige, kung okay na tayo dyan, ito mas mahirap yung pangatlo. The third one is love requires sacrifice. Sacrifice. Hindi po pwedeng laging tayo yung nasusunod. When you say you wanna love, at some point you have to give a little bit of yourself. Okay? You have to sacrifice something that you want. Yung gusto mo, hindi mo makukuha. So, pag magde-date kami ni Zarem, no? I want Filipino food. She wants Japanese food. We'll eat Japanese food. Okay? Yeah. Pagkakakain kami, I want yung may rice and ulam. She wants bread and pasta. I never like bread and pasta. So, anong kakainin namin? Bread and pasta. O yan. So, love requires sacrifice. I hope the guys here can relate to yung sacrifice na yan. Ano? Yeah? But that's love. That's love. And I'm happy to do it for her. In the same way that si Zarem also sacrifices for us. What many people probably don't know is si Zarem is a certified public accountant. It's a rare breed nowadays. But she's also a globally certified internal auditor. Another rarer breed pa. But she has decided to accept the job of CEO of our small household, no? Where her salary is only the same amount that she's supposed to spend for us anyway. Diba? That's sacrifice. But that's love. And I thought, what does love require from us? One, love requires decision. Two, love requires effort. And three, love requires sacrifice. We need to remember that because that will help us moving forward. Because what we're going to talk about is loving God. And in loving God, we need to make a decision. Do we love God? Have we really made that decision? Kasi parang we have accepted that na parang, oh, I'm supposed to love God. Yes, I'm a Christian. I'm supposed to love God. Yes. But have we made that decision to love God? Ayan, question na naman. I don't have the answer. Are we making an effort to love God? And what sacrifices are we making simply because we love God? That's also another question. So 3 questions for now. But let's go to the exact commandment. Ano ba yung sinabi sa atin? What is expected from us when we say we love God? What does it mean? Okay? And going back to scriptures, it says we should love God with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, and all our strength. Buti na lang may Bible, may guide. Meron konting nagpupush sa atin. Ito pala yun. This is how we love God. But what does it mean to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength? What does that mean? Let's start with the last one, strength. Strength equals effort. So strength is, what are we doing when we say we love God? Okay? Are we doing enough? And I wouldn't want to break the suspense, but later on, for those of you, hopefully all of you, who will continue in the BCPP, some of the formation tracks will talk about how much time are you spending for the Lord. Kasi, di ba, effort eh. So, you're saying loving God, and you're pouring all the effort, we look back and ask, so, oo nga no, mahal ko si Lord, pero I'm not spending time with the Lord. Yan. Okay? So, what kind of effort are we pouring in as far as our love for God is concerned? And then secondly, how about treasure? Treasure. If we go back to, the amount of money that we spent in the last week or so, how much have we spent for God? I mean, for instance, for the church, for the poor, yeah? How much have we actually spent for God? So that's, again, a more difficult question. Do we really love God with all our strength? Have we put an effort into loving God? Now, when you say mind is about knowing, and knowing comes from studying. Kapag mahal mo ang isang tao, di ba, pag-aaralan mo, ano ba yung paborito niya, ano yung gusto niya, right? But when we love God, do we really study God? Do we spend time to get to know Him? Yung isang kanta natin sa BCBP, di ba, which is to know Him, to love Him, and to make Him known. Loving God is about knowing Him also. And so we ask the question again, have we really loved God with all our mind? What is occupying our mind? If yung mind natin is a computer with a certain amount of storage space, what's in there? How much of it is God? I'll tell you, maybe not enough. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why we think, bakit ang daming mga mental health concerns now? Because when we let our minds be filled with something that's not God, it takes you into something very dark. In my case, for instance, I allowed my mind to be filled with this world so that at some point in my past, I was so consumed with power, with money, with doing the stuff that I want, so that when I failed in my own endeavors, the first thing that came to mind was, I wanted to end it all. I wanted to take my own life. Ganun yun eh. Because my mind was into something else, I almost killed myself. Imagine that. And so we are asked to love God with all our strength, our mind, and our soul. Soul is about alignment. If we are the branch and He is the tree, if we're not aligned, if we are not connected to Him, sabi nga ni Andrew last week, di ba, yung connection na yan is important, then what are we? Are you connected to the Lord? If you truly love the Lord, have you found the time to connect and align with Him? Di ba sa business, if the vision and if you're not aligned with the vision and mission of the company, then things could go haywire. You could be doing some things well, but it is not even contributing to the company's growth or to the achievement of its objectives. Ganon din sa atin. If we're not aligned with the Lord, we could be doing a lot of things. We could be very busy with a lot of things. But the question is it what the Lord wants for us? So, have we aligned with the Lord? Now, paano ba tayo mag-align kay Lord? Well, we can align with Him by spending time with Him in prayer. Yeah? That's why it's important to continue to attend the Holy Mass. It's the highest form of prayer. And the best time to spend with Him. And to ask, ito ba yung gusto mo para sa akin? Am I doing what you want? Am I following your will? Kasi kung mahal mo yung isang tao, di ba gusto mong masunod siya? No? Kahit gusto ko ng Jollibee, ang bagsak namin Tokyo. Kasi gusto niya Japanese. No? That's the soul, yung alignment. And then of course, we go back to the heart. We go back to yung innermost desire natin. And again, I'm throwing the question at you without any answers at all. Have we really asked ourselves that question? Do we really love God? Seriously. Kasi when we answer that question and when you have the answer like yes, then everything else follows. It's a matter of alignment. It's a matter of knowing the Lord and then spending time with Him. You know what? This is the easy part. This is the easy part. It's always easier to say, I love God and let us love God. It's always easy because most of the time, no one will disagree with you. But the next part of what we're asked to do is, now, we should love our neighbor. Yun na yung medyo mahirap na part. Okay? How do you love your neighbor? Let me ask the question first. Who is your neighbor? Okay? And I'll try to group and classify our neighbors into three. The easiest would be our families. Our families. So, your spouse, your children, your mother, your father, even your relatives. Ipasok na natin siya into one group called family. And hindi siya masyadong halata, but I put it in green color. Kasi pag green, di ba sa traffic light, green is go. That's the easy one. Is it easy to love family? Not always, no? But I'm already telling you, that's the easiest eh. Yan yung pinakamadali. And that's what we're called to do. We're called to love our families. Except that it's not always easy. Mahirap minsan kung sino pa nga yung pamilya eh. Yun pang mas mahirap mahalin because they don't love us back. But you know what? The commandment remains the same. To love your neighbor. It doesn't say love your neighbor only when they love you. It's love your neighbor. Period. So loving our family means reminding ourselves always that there is God in our neighbors. There is God inside our relatives. It's a lot easier when you look at your families, for instance, especially if they love you back. Madali pag minamahal ka din nila. So I'll throw back the question again. Ikaw ba nagmamahal ka? Do you make it easy for people to love you back? Or do you make it difficult for them? May mga hugot ba tayo from the past? Because kung sino pa yung relative, yun pa yung mas mahirap mahalin. But being a Christian means we're being called to love. And love our family. Nasa easy pa lang tayo, guys. Let me bring you to the next level, which is loving your community. Community. And this, when you say community, it could be BCBP as a community. It could be your community sa village, yung kapitbahay mo na nagpa-park dun sa harap nung garahe mo, hindi ka makalabas. Right? It could be your barangay chairman na pag lumalapit ka, kailangan may dala ka or else di ka niya papansinin. Okay? These are the people around you. They might not be part of your family. But again, they're also difficult to love. So, should we still love yung ating neighbors? Should we? Medyo ang hirap nung sagot, ano? I'm sorry, but I also don't have the answer. But this is what we're called to do. We're called to love our neighbors. But if you find that difficult, let me bring you to level 3. The most difficult one is loving your enemies. Mahirap na nga yung hindi mo kaaway eh. Paano pa kaya yung nangaaway sa'yo? Okay? Should we love those who make life difficult for us? How about those who are eager to put you down? I remember back then there was someone, I don't know who that person is, but I was new in the business, no? I had Singaporean partners, well, very short yung relationship namin, no? Parang a few months pa lang, we were just starting in our business relationship. Then someone was writing poison letters to my Singaporean partners. It was an anonymous letter that said, "Naku, be careful kay Bong, nanakawan ka niyan at lolokohin ka niyan." I don't know why. No? But there are people who do that. I have no idea who that person is. I've never stepped on anyone's toes in that business endeavor. Pero the letters kept coming until my Singaporean partners could not stomach it anymore. And so we decided to part ways. It was truly painful for me. I wanted to use my skills. I used to be I spent most of my time as an auditor and a fraud examiner. It would have been, well, not really easy, but it would have been possible for me to trace who actually sent those letters. PDF, ni email, anonymous emails, would have been easy. But at that time, I thought, sabi ni Lord, vengeance is mine. I just said, sige, whoever that person is, okay na. I tried to bury it. But at some point, it made me very bitter. At some point, it made me really lose my faith when I was losing practically everything. And this person kept sending letters. That was tough. Until, as I said earlier, it probably led me to a decision where I thought I should just end my life para matapos na lahat. Good thing that the Lord kept me in His fold. Good thing that the Lord continued to comfort me and I did not push through with that decision. Imagine kung ginawa ko pala yun dati, you won't even have me here around. I won't be able to see my beautiful kids, two of whom are here right now. And how do you love your enemy? Ang sabi ni Lord, no? You have heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. I used to be deeply involved in internal audit, and in one report that we issued, it was a bit challenging. It was a little bit scathing. One afternoon, the president of one of the subsidiaries that we audited called me up and he said, "What the hell is this?" I was surprised because I thought he was a very rational and calm person, but he continued to attack me verbally. Up to the point where he said, "You know, Bong, I know you. I know you." And I said, What do you mean, sir? And he said, You're a self-righteous, arrogant bastard." That's what he called me. And I was shocked. I had the highest respect for this person. I just kept quiet. This person was attacking me from all points. And he said, "Tawagin mo yung mga auditor mo. Mag-meeting tayo right now." I wanted to get angry. I wanted to tell him, you have no right to speak to me like that. I report to the audit committee. I could have you reported for that kind of behavior. Buti na lang, in the morning before that, in one of my readings was, Jesus was standing calm in the middle of an ocean, medyo nagkakagulo. No, in the middle of a storm, He was calm. And I felt that calmness. I stayed quiet while he was ranting. And at some point, sabi niya, "Sige na, tawagin mo yung mga auditor mo." And I told him, "Sir, no, I'm not going to do that." So he said, "Why?" I told him, "But you're upset, and this is not the best time to talk to them or to you. I hope you'll find time to calm down." Lalong nagalit. Lalo akong minura and all that stuff. And then I tried to explain myself, he cut off the line. Siyempre, ninenervyos ako. No? What just happened? Then my phone rang again. It was him again. Same guy. They called me up and said, "I'll have you removed from this company. You know that." I said, "Sir, it's your temper that's getting the best of you." I kept quiet. I prayed. Buti na lang nasa BCBP na ako at that time. I had my daily scripture readings. I prayed. I stayed quiet. Pero sa totoo lang, kinakabahan din ako. I have my kids to feed. I'm the only one working in the family. I'm the breadwinner. No? I kept quiet. Then he hung up. The following morning, I was doing my morning walks. I received a text message and he said, it's the same president, and he said, "Bong, pasensya na. I'm sorry. My temper got the best of me. Please forgive me for everything that I said." And you know what? Lahat ng recommendations na nandoon sa audit report namin, he made sure that they were all followed and implemented. Yes. Okay? So, loving. Well, let's just continue to love because that's precisely what our Lord Himself has asked from us. Yung final commandment niya sa atin, you know that, yung final commandment, yung pagkatapos ng Last Supper, nung tumayo na si Judas, He left us with one commandment. And He said, no? Love one another. O parang same lang, love your neighbor. But this time, He said, love one another as I have loved you. He has already demonstrated how to love us. He loved us despite our sinfulness. Pinako nga sa krus, pinalo pa siya. No? Sinaktan, pinatay. But He continued to love us. What did He say to the Roman soldiers? Instead of saying, naku, mamatay na kayong lahat. Imbis na murahin niya, sinabi niya, Lord, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. That's what's expected from us because He said, this is how all will know that you are my disciples. This is what will define us as Christians. So what does it mean to love our neighbor? To love our neighbor means, one, to make a decision. To make a decision that we are Christians. And we see God in everybody, including our enemies. So we choose to love. Yeah? One of my former bosses, who is here right now, told me once, Bong, remember, you might be the only Christ that person will ever see in his life. So kung galit na galit ka na, and you wanna bring hell and rain fire down your enemy, remember, you are a Christian, you might be the only Christ that they might encounter in their entire life. And in my case, for instance, yung presidente na yun, imagine, I was probably the only person he faced na no matter what he said, I just stayed calm. And I said, sir, you're upset. Please take time to rest. I leave you with this final message. This is something that I saw in a sticker. No? Nasa sticker nung laptop ni Ivy. You know, si Ivy. Si Ivy, one of the managers reported to me at that time. So, it says, love never fails. The first time I met si Ivy and I saw yung laptop niya, nakalagay yung love never fails, I thought, wow, how cheesy. No? How naive. Right? But I tell you this afternoon, love never fails. Love never fails. Let's continue to love. That is what's being asked from us. To love God, to love our neighbors, no matter how difficult it is. Because God is love and God never fails. Mahirap itong journey na to. But let's simply remember that love is so much bigger than just the warm, fuzzy feelings. Love is the duty of a disciple. And therefore, the way to balance that with our own emotions is to realize that each person who crosses our path is there so that we can show them the face of Christ. It is not about loving them so that we can get something back. It is about loving so that we can also love Jesus Himself. Maraming salamat for listening, everyone. Have a great afternoon.